think that 24 hours before an exam is probably up there in the top 10 most panic-inducing experiences one can have, especially if you're unprepared. I've been in that scenario so many times.
Well, I'll be damned, bruh. 24 hours.
Whether it's just because I was feeling lazy and ended up procrastinating, or I just ended up wasting time scrolling or playing video games, or sometimes I just had other commitments, like I had orchestra, I had sports, and so I just had no time to prepare for the tests. Or maybe I just ended up forgetting. You need to use these remaining 24 hours you have to the maximum. I used to just panic and feel overwhelmed. I look through like the textbook, I click on like the task where the teacher had set all the exam materials, and then I'd be like,
It's not that bad.
until I clicked on the PowerPoint and I realized there was only 1 out of 6 chapters that it would be tested. That would just make me feel hella stressed, and I tell myself that I'm cooked anyway. And so that would just lead me back to procrastinating, scrolling, and when the time of the exam came, I'd fail. But actually, it doesn't have to be that way. Although my teacher always used to say revision should be done something like way before, and 24 hours before an exam, there's not much you can do. I disagree.
No, thank you.
This video will save your exam that's in 24 hours time. Chapter 1. How much time have you actually got? Well, that's easy, 24 hours before the exam obviously, but actually it's not 24 hours, because before I start getting into like the big boy tips and tricks and like the actual things that you can do, it's imperative we actually know how much time we have to work with. Remember, 10 minutes of planning saves 2 hours in execution. So for the remaining 24 hours you have, like imagine like a kind of calendar style thing. Firstly, you have to block out non-negotiables. One obvious one is sleep. That's 8 hours gone already. Then you have your 3 meals, you might have to like pick up your cousin, you might have like a mandatory piano lesson. All of these things are things that you can't spend time studying with, right? And so block these out, and now you can see where your actual time is and where the gaps are. This is all that planning is, finding out how much time that you actually have and seeing where the non-negotiable tasks sit within our calendar. And so now that you have your blocks of time, might be like 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and then like 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. like whatever it is, now we can start to fill those in. So the first thing you want to do when you have your exam in 24 hours time is you want to copy your answers. You want to copy off the mark scheme straight away. A lot of people tend to try and like work through the questions in the textbook and do like a question first type approach. But actually, when I revise off the answers, it's good for so many reasons. Firstly, you know that you're revising off correct material. Notes are cool to revise off of. Actually, there's a lot of fluff in there. The mark scheme and answers are what examiners are going to be using to mark your test. So you know that the material on there is literally just the bare minimum. And although it's also less content, you know it's the correct content. You'd be surprised. Like studies show that when participants like study off of their notes, a lot of the time like half the stuff didn't even actually come up. And so when you can revise off the condensed list, which isn't given to you, but you can find by doing the answers first, you're going to end up saving so much time and the efficiency of your study sessions will go up. And secondly, since the answer is kind of like the end point or final destination that we want to get to, if you read the answer and understand it, you don't need to go back and do the question, try and learn it and grasp the concept, because if you already know the answer, you know that kind of like topic or like that kind of like line in the spec list, you have it in the bag. However, if an answer doesn't make sense to you or you got it wrong, and so you're revising off the answers and like this one, like you don't know what it means, you can go back and then do the question and relearn and like do all the things you'd normally do. And if you think about it, it saves you from having to go through all of the content, because the ones that you're already confident and you know, you're not going to waste time on those, and rather we're going to focus on our weaknesses. An analogy I really like is this. Here in the UK anyway, there's a lot of roads with potholes, which basically means like the road isn't flat and there's like a bunch of like bumps and grooves and there's like holes in the ground, and it's like a really difficult terrain to navigate. And so what happens a lot of the time is the council is called to like fix these potholes because they're dangerous. Like imagine trying to ride your bike or like car with like massive holes in the floor. Imagine if like the council who came to fix these holes, they came and with like their 100 liters of concrete or whatever, and then they were just told to like pour it evenly across the entire 1 kilometer long road. Well, actually that would just make it worse, because although like yes, there's going to be 2 inches of concrete going to be filling the holes, because we spread it thin everywhere on the normal level of the roads, that's also going to be increased by 2 inches. Although we spent 100 liters worth of concrete, the gaps in that road will remain deep as well, but also like the bits that were okay were elevated, and so we end up with an even rockier road. It's the same with our studies. Your knowledge isn't kind of just like you don't know anything. Like in biology, there's going to be certain topics that you're better at and certain topics that you're not. And so the reason why this is important, if you think about it, for example, the same 100 liters of concrete, the best way to fill up those holes is actually to get the 100 liters of concrete and just fill up the hole. So even if like that one hole takes like 20 liters and 4 liters, there's no point in like putting concrete on like part of the road that's already like good, right? We're using the same amount of concrete but actually using it to fill the holes, so by the end of it we have a nice flat road. Same with our studies. Time is limited, especially now because your exam's in 24 hours. We want to focus on our weaknesses and pour all of our efforts into there. There's no point in studying the stuff that we're going to get right anyway, because that's such a waste of time. Alright guys, I wanted to quickly interrupt and remind you guys that anyone who wants to like make this school year their year, we've currently got a back to school sale on the Student Accelerator, and it's the biggest sale we've ever ran. I've left a link in the pinned comments and the description of this video. And for those of you who don't know what the Student Accelerator is, it's a comprehensive program that I built to help you excel in school and just overall set yourself up for a life of success. Inside, I share exactly the same techniques, systems and knowledge that I use to accomplish all 9s in my GCSEs. And you can get access to all of this as well as live coaching, Q&A calls, workshops, all at the lowest price we've ever ran. So if you want to set yourself up for this school year and reach your potential, surround yourself with like-minded students, and also save some money while doing so, check out the link in the description. Anyway, back to the video. And chapter 3, frills. Frills stand for frequent, regular, intense, limited sessions, and this is the structure we want to follow for our study sessions. You want to up the intensity. A lion only hunts a couple of days in a week, right? But when they do, like they might hunt on like Monday, right? But they're going to make sure it's 100% their effort, they're sprinting because they really want to catch that deer. Imagine on the other hand, they try to hunt like 24/7. The energy would be spread out thin and they wouldn't catch anything. Since we've already blocked out the times you have during the day, and you'll see that they're kind of like scattered throughout the day, right? So then in sessions of maximum 90 minutes, but ideally around 60, sit down and just know what you're going to focus on and go full in sprints. Because although this kind of term of like study marathon and like study all day like 8 hours is romanticized, your efficiency and like productivity goes really high up in the first hour, but then like it starts to like just flatline and then go down. And so we can leverage this like maximum like increase, the fastest rate of productivity increase, which just happens in the first hour anyway. And so if we leverage that and we only make our study sessions 1 hour long, it makes it so that we're going to able to utilize and focus all our attention in that area. Since we're limited on time anyway, we want to learn more and retain more. We have to increase the efficiency. And so we can do that by making the learning process more active, by doing flashcard, reviewing answers, and doing past papers. And something that goes hand in hand in all of them, and the reason I say you should only study like 60 to 90 minutes at a time, is because of something called spaced repetition. When you try to cram, the mistake that a lot of people make is they don't actually like have gaps in between them reviewing stuff. And so stuff going to your long-term memory actually only happens when your brain is allowed to forget it, and then it's kind of able to like reconsolidate the gaps again with the knowledge. And this can only happen if you like leave gaps and allow yourself to forget some of the content. And so make sure to utilize gaps in between your study sessions. And the fourth chapter is videos and walkthroughs. Videos and walkthroughs are your best friends, especially when we're short on time. Multi-sensory learning is proven to be the fastest way to learn because multiple senses are involved. For example, the memories that you remember the most probably incorporate multiple senses. You might have the vivid memory of the beach, of like the smell, the taste, like you hear the seagulls, you can smell like the sea salt. When multiple senses are involved, you end up remembering it for longer. And so when you get a fresh perspective of something, or you're able to link another sense to something that you already knew, that's really bolstering in that memory or concept when it comes to studying. So for example, watching cognitive videos, as you can see here, and like kind of animation videos for biology really helped me a lot, because like for example, protein synthesis, transcription, translation, these are all kind of really conceptual, kind of like hard to imagine things. Like we're talking on the microscopic level, and so like I can memorize that there's a tRNA and mRNA, but when you can actually see the animation of like, oh, so the tRNA acts as a messenger, it carries them on and it like sticks them, and then you can see like how the mRNA like goes through the ribosome and like gets unzipped like partially. Suddenly, because we're adding on like the visual, like we can see the animations and we link that to kind of like the writing and like the theory side of it, suddenly we understand that so much more. And also because I studied music, right, a lot of the time we just be looking at the score. Although like the score is great to study off of, you can like see like, okay, that's like a Neapolitan sixth, or like that's intervals like a perfect fifth. When you're actually like listening to the music, adding the auditory sense on top of visual, that's when you really start to understand things even better. Watch walkthrough videos of like math past papers and like people like solving them in front of you, because although like it might seem like kind of silly to like watch other people solve it, you can see like step by step what they do. And more importantly, like for maths especially, if you get stuck at a step, you're able to see what the next step is and where you're lacking. And so these walkthroughs and videos are your best friend. And the fifth chapter is to stop getting anxious. When you're actually in the exam hall, a lot of students always tell me that they get nervous, and they end up panicking, and they end up just like messing themselves up. They set themselves up for failure. The thing is, you've done all you can. You had 24 hours, and if you followed like the steps that I told you in this video, you've done all you can do. You've put in the work and you put in the effort. And so imagine how unfair it would be if you end up not being able to like show your potential, get all the marks you can, because you're too worried about like being stressed and panicked in the exam hall. You're in there anyway, the doors have closed, and there's nothing else you can do. And so you might as well just relax, because you've done all you can, and that's like the best outcome that you can have. Don't end up losing easy marks because you end up panicking, and just believe in yourself. Remember, results are just a reflection of your actions, and if you've taken the correct actions, if you're doing the stuff that I'm telling you to do, you know you're in the best possible state that you can be in. And so just take a deep breath, relax, and you'll be fine. And by the way, if you really found this video useful and like you want to really try and become the best student you can be in all aspects, I'm helping students around the world become the best student that they can be, teaching them stuff about like procrastination, productivity, things like this, like easy exam hacks that you can do before the exam, much more, personalized videos, etc., courses. It's such a good place to be in. I'd really recommend you check out Student Accelerator, which you can do with the first link in the description, where you can check out the free masterclass in which I introduce it. But anyway, take action on what you learned today, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Well, I'll be damned. Only 24 hours left, but it's okay.